9:32 now, here on TalkRadio1.com. Mark Germain broadcasting live, and let me introduce you to someone who's been on the show. How many times have I talked to you before, Luke?
Twice.
His third time here on Talk Radio 1. Luke Ford from lukeford.net, and good to talk to you again.
Yes.
What's happening with you in your life?
I just got back from yoga, so I got into yoga in a big way in the past 3 weeks. You notice a sudden spiritual change in me?
You dabble in just about everything. You'll try almost anything, won't you?
I will.
And have you found nirvana through yoga?
Yes, I've been going out with her for 2 weeks.
Or you bought their albums anyway?
No, it's a great way to meet women. It really is.
Well, it is kind of a female form of all that, and jazzercise are really female-oriented exercises. Yeah,
so I mean, any straight guy who wants to meet chicks and doesn't do yoga is a fool, because yoga is just filled with chicks. That's
a great suggestion. And now, here's one of the things that I've heard about yoga, though, is that it can be so relaxing that, and the clothing that you're supposed to wear is supposed to be loose-fitting clothing, and so you can not be your best in yoga, in a yoga. A guy is not going to be in his, unless you've been doing yoga for a long time and you're in great physical shape, it's almost worse to be doing yoga, whereas if you're on a treadmill, you can kind of fake it.
I mean, I don't get it. What's the downside for a guy doing yoga?
Well, that you are not presenting yourself in your best light.
Oh, but that doesn't matter.
No.
I mean, you're in the ball game. That's what counts. You're in the ball game. Everybody's nice, and the women are vulnerable spiritually, physically, and socially. Mm-hmm. Because, like, in yoga, everybody's nice to each other.
Yeah.
And all their chakras and auras and all that are opening up, and they're doing physical things, which fires up the body to want to do more physical.
Now you're not doing that Hayaditha yoga, which is like in 110-degree saunas. You know, it's just unbelievably hot while you're doing it.
No. I'm doing Kundilini yoga.
And how's that different?
Well, supposedly, I don't know anything, so I'm just repeating what I've been told in my beginner's classes.
Yeah.
Kundalini yoga is the mother of all yoga, and it is also the most spiritual form of yoga.
Uh-huh.
So you get little spiritual commentaries, and then you do various stretches and exercises, and then you chant things in Sanskrit to God, and then you sing this song, "May the long-time sun shine upon you."
By the way, you have a lovely singing voice, Luke.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And may the pure light surround you and guide your way home.
Now, this is not in any way oppositional to your fundamental belief. I mean, we should say that you are an Orthodox Jew and a convert to Orthodox Judaism, and none of this is in any way in opposition to that.
I sure hope not.
Well, you would know. I mean, you blog, and I don't know if you're joking or not, but you make references to being a rabbi. Are you a rabbi?
No, I'm definitely not a rabbi. That's just total. That's just fun and games.
Well, by the way, who decides that you're a rabbi? You don't get a certificate by completing a class. There's no reason why it's like being a reverend. Anyone can call themselves a reverend. I could say I'm a reverend.
Well, if you're a rabbi who's being graduated from a legitimate institution, then you do get a certificate.
Okay, but who could stop you from calling yourself a rabbi?
Nobody.
Yeah, well, that's my point. So,
please call me Rabbi Luke from now on.
And so, do you think you know as much about Judaism as a rabbi from a rabbinical institute?
No.
You don't. Okay.
No, nowhere close.
You don't consider yourself a scholar in the Hebrew Bible or in the Torah?
No, because my Hebrew is not that great. So, I love it when the news media proclaims various people, scholars of Islam who are not literate in Arabic, the primary language of Islam is Arabic. The primary language of Judaism is Hebrew. I cannot carry on a conversation in Hebrew. I can't even chant the Torah in Hebrew. I can model my way through the prayer book in Hebrew. I can say the basic blessings in Hebrew. I can kind of get along when there's a good rabbi teaching the Torah. I can, I pick up phrases and stuff. But unless you're literate in the primary language of a religion, I don't believe you're a scholar of it.
And Hebrew is not a particularly difficult language to master, though, is it?
Well, they said that Spanish was the easiest language, and I took 3 years of it at school, and oy vey. So it's a challenge, but it's not impossible.
Not impossible. All right. You know what? I don't really know that. I know that they're different texts, but I don't really know what the difference between the Hebrew Bible and the Torah is. What exact? I know what the Hebrew Bible is. What Christians call the Old Testament. But I'm not really sure what the Torah is.
Okay, the Torah in its specific meaning is the 5 books of Moses, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. In its general meaning, Torah means all of the Jewish tradition. So it means the 5 books of Moses, the rest of the Hebrew Bible, the Talmud, the rabbinic commentaries on the Talmud, and rabbinic commentaries and answers leading up to this day.
So the Torah the Torah is the Jewish universe, and part of one of the planets in the Jewish universe is the Hebrew Bible and the and you said something else, the 5
books of Moses. That's the specific meaning of Torah, the 5 books. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. So you have to get from the. So if someone says I'm studying Torah, you really don't know exactly what they're studying. But if someone says I'm studying this week's Torah portion, or
I thought it was
commands, then they mean the 5 books.
I thought it was a specific document. I thought it was like the preamble to the Constitution. It was like what came before the Hebrew Bible is the Torah. Not so.
Well, yeah, in a sense that at the very beginning, you want to go back 3,300 years ago, 3,500 years ago, there was an oral tradition. That oral tradition got written down according to secular scholars at the time of, was finished and put in final form at the time of Ezra the scribe in 456 BCE. From an Orthodox perspective, the Torah was given by God at Mount Sinai to Moses 3,200 years ago. Then, as long as there was a written Torah, there was also an oral Torah commenting upon it and interpreting it and applying it to every day. That became the Talmud, and so there's always been a written and an oral tradition, and the oral tradition always gets written down.
Maybe that's what I should be asking you. What's the Talmud?
Okay, so when you have the Bible and the 5 books of Moses, you need to apply it. So it says in the Torah, for instance, slaughter the animals as I have instructed you, but it nowhere says in the Torah exactly how to slaughter the animals. It says to put on tefillin, but it doesn't explain what tefillin is. So as long as there was this Torah, there was this oral Torah whereby the rabbis or the leaders of those times would explain what the text really meant and how you would apply it, say if you'd been exiled to Babylon, which the written Torah is just really specifically aimed at living in the land of Israel. So there was always this oral tradition. Finally, the keepers of the oral tradition started getting their heads whacked off by Romans and other barbarians around years 100 to 200 of the Common Era. So the Jewish leaders said, we need to write this down. So they wrote it down, and that formed the Mishnah, which is also known as the oral law, this 1,200 years of oral tradition running alongside the Torah. Then as soon as they wrote down the Mishnah, there were all these rabbis commenting and interpreting the Mishnah. That became the Talmud, which was put in final form around year 500 of the Common Era.
How well do you know that?
Well, I studied Daf Yomi for 2 years, and that's where you study 1 page of Talmud a day. So I'm okay. I spent 2 years studying a page a day, so I've spent hundreds of hours in it.
What's inside a mezuzah?
The Shema, which is, you shall hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And then there are several paragraphs you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, and your neighbor as yourself. And take these words which I command you this day, and put them on your heart, and observe them. And if you don't observe them, God will pound on you, and your life will become hell. But if you